I faked a trip out of town and left 3 recorders running in my house. That night, I sat in a motel room with the lights off, listening to my daughter say, "Once the papers go through, Dad won't have a home to come back to." I did not cry. I did not yell. I just sat there with the phone in my hand and understood, for the first time, that my little girl had stopped seeing me as her father. She saw me as the problem. My name is Walter Reeves. I was 68 years old when this happened. I lived alone in Franklin, Kentucky, in the same house my wife Ellen and I bought 39 years ago. White siding, green shutters, a long front porch, one giant maple tree in the backyard. Ellen loved that tree. She said every good house needed something old watching over it. When she died, I kept the house exactly the way she left it. Her blue coffee mug stayed in the cabinet, her gardening gloves stayed by the back door, her rocking chair stayed on the porch facing the maple tree. Some people called that grief. I called it loyalty. My daughter Claire did not agree. 6 months after the funeral, she started saying the house was too much for me. At first, she said it gently. "Dad, this place is a lot to handle alone." Then it became sharper. "You forgot to pay the water bill." I had not. "You left the stove on." I had not. "You missed your appointment." I had rescheduled it. Every week there was something new. Small things, annoying things, things that made me sound careless if she repeated them to someone else. Her husband Nolan joined in soon after. Nolan worked in real estate, clean shirts, perfect teeth, a smile that never reached his eyes. He always called me sir, but somehow it felt like an insult. One Sunday after dinner, he looked across my own kitchen table and said, "Walter, have you thought about assisted living?" Before I tell you what I did next, tell me where you were watching from in the comments below. I put my fork down. No. Claire touched my arm. "We're just worried." That became their favorite word, worried. They said it when they moved my keys. They said it when they asked about my bank accounts. They said it when Nolan walked through my backyard, staring at the lot line like he was already drawing plans in his head. I should have noticed sooner, but grief makes you soft in places you used to protect. The first real warning came on a Tuesday morning. I was looking for a screwdriver in my office when I saw my desk drawer sitting open. Not wide open, just half an inch. Enough. That drawer stuck unless you lifted it before closing. Whoever opened it did not know that. Inside were my house deed, Ellen's death certificate, insurance papers, and my will. Nothing looked missing, but the papers were too neat. That sounds crazy unless you live alone. When you live alone, you know the shape of your own mess. I wrote it down. Date, time, drawer open. Claire visited yesterday. I did not know yet that the notebook would save me. 2 days later, Claire came over with groceries. She acted normal. Too normal. While I made coffee, I saw her standing in the hallway with her phone pointed toward my office. When I looked at her, she lowered it fast. "What are you doing?" She smiled. "Taking a picture of Mom's old vase." The vase was in the living room, not my office. I said nothing. I wrote it down after she left. A week later, Nolan's SUV would not start in my driveway. I helped him jump it because, say what you want about me, I still help a man with a dead battery. When I bent near the passenger seat, I saw a folder on the floor. My name was on it. Walter Reeves. Underneath it were the words, "Capacity Concern Timeline." I stared at it. Nolan shut the door fast. "Work stuff," he said. "My name is work stuff?" He gave me that smooth smile. "Claire worries about you, that's all." That's all. People say that when they know it is not all. That night, I called my lawyer. Her name was Marcia Vance. She had handled Ellen's estate and the sale of my hardware store. Marcia was 72. sharp as broken glass and not easily surprised. I told her everything. The drawer, the phone, the folder, the missing keys, the worry. She listened without interrupting. Then she said, "Walter, do not confront them." That scared me. Why? Because they may be building a case that you cannot manage your own affairs. I looked around my kitchen. The house felt different suddenly, like every room had been listening. Can they do that? They can try. She's my daughter. Marcia's voice softened. I know, but daughter or not, do not sign anything. The next day, Claire proved Marcia right. She came by after lunch with a folder and a nervous smile. Dad, I brought something simple. I looked at the folder. Simple things don't usually come in legal envelopes. She tried to laugh. It's just paperwork so I can help if anything happens. Nolan stepped in from the porch. I had not heard him come in. That bothered me more than the folder. It's a basic power of attorney, he said. Pretty standard. I opened the first page. I did not understand every line, but I understood enough. It gave Claire authority over finances, medical choices, real estate, my real estate. I looked at my daughter. You already signed this. Her face changed, just for a second. I mean, only because I would be the one helping. You accepted power I never gave you. Nolan leaned forward. Walter, don't make this emotional. That did it. I closed the folder. You brought this into my house and asked me to hand over my life, but I'm the emotional one? Claire's eyes filled up. Dad, please, we're trying to protect you. There was that word again. Protect. I pushed the folder back. I'll have Marcia review it. Nolan's face tightened. Claire whispered, Why do you always make everything difficult? That sentence stayed with me. Not because it was loud, because it was honest. I was becoming difficult, not as a father, as an obstacle. Marcia read the papers that afternoon. She called me 30 minutes later. This is not simple, she said. I figured. It gives Claire control immediately, not after incapacity, immediately. I looked out the window at Ellen's maple tree. And the house? Yes, the house too. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then Marcia asked, Has Nolan talked about property value? I remembered him in the backyard. I remembered him saying, This lot is bigger than most people realize. I remembered Claire asking if I had ever thought about selling before the market cooled. I closed my eyes. They want the house. Marcia said, Then we need proof. The proof came because they thought I was weak. That is the funny thing about people who underestimate you. They get lazy. A few days later, I mentioned an old friend in Arizona. I did it during breakfast with Claire. Russell keeps asking me to visit, I said. Maybe I'll go next Friday. Claire looked up fast. Really? Too fast. Maybe 4 or 5 days? That would be good for you, she said. Nolan looked down at his phone. His thumb moved quickly. I pretended not to notice. That afternoon, I told Marcia. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Book the trip. I thought you said not to go anywhere. You won't go. They just need to believe you did. I understood. Book the flight. Pack the bag. Let them think the house would be empty. Then record what happened. Marcia made sure everything was legal. The devices were placed in my own home, in common rooms only. Entryway, kitchen, office. No private spaces. Nothing reckless. Just enough to hear who came in, why they came in, and what they said when they thought I was gone. My neighbor Hank helped too. Hank lived across the street. Retired mechanic, bad knees, good eyes. When I told him some of it, he shook his head. Claire? He asked. I nodded. He looked toward my house. Ellen would be raising hell. That almost made me smile. On Friday morning, I loaded my suitcase into the truck. Claire stood in the driveway with coffee. "Call me when you land," she said. "I will. Text me if the airport gets confusing." I looked at her. She looked back like she had said something normal. Nolan arrived just as I was leaving. He hugged me. He had never hugged me before unless someone had died. "Enjoy Arizona, Walter," he said. Walter. Not dad, not family. Walter. Like a name on a file. I drove to the airport, checked in, went through security, waited 40 minutes. Then I walked out through another exit, took a shuttle to long-term parking, and drove back into town in Hank's old pickup. By noon, I was in a cheap motel 2 miles from my own house. Room 114. Curtains closed, phone on the bed, recording app open. For hours, nothing happened. Then, at 5:42 p.m., Hank called. "They're there." My mouth went dry. "Who?" "Claire, Nolan, and a black sedan." I put in my headphones. At first, I heard my front door. The lock turned. The door opened. Claire said, "He's gone until Tuesday." Then Nolan said, "Good, that gives us time." A woman's voice answered, "I still need stronger examples of decline." Nolan laughed quietly. "We've been creating them for months." I stopped breathing. Creating them. Not noticing, not helping. Creating. The missing keys, the unplugged microwave, the fake bills, the questions. Every little moment they used to make me doubt myself. They had made it. On purpose. Claire said, "Don't say it like that." Nolan said, "Why? It's true." "It sounds bad. It only sounds bad if someone hears it." I looked at the glowing recorder on my phone. Someone did hear it. Me. They moved into the kitchen. Papers slid across the table. The woman asked about a doctor. Claire said, "Dr. Phelps wrote the Dad Show's possible cognitive decline. Has he examined your father?" Silence. Nolan said, "He reviewed family observations." Family observations. That was the pretty name for lies. Then a man spoke. I had not heard him enter. "The court does not need perfection," he said. "It needs urgency." Nolan said, "We'll have urgency if the sale window closes." The man snapped, "Do not call it a sale window." Nolan lowered his voice. "Fine, the asset window." The asset. That was my house, the place Ellen died, the kitchen where Claire lost her first tooth. The porch where my grandchildren ate watermelon every summer. The asset. Then Claire said the sentence that destroyed what was left of us. "Once the papers go through, Dad won't have a home to come back to." I sat there in that motel room, still, cold. I waited for someone to correct her. No one did. Nolan said, "He'll be placed somewhere safe." Placed. Like furniture. Claire said, "I don't want him somewhere awful." Nolan sighed. "Claire, he won't even understand half of it." That was when the sadness left me. Not all of it. Enough. Because I understood every word. They went into my office next. I heard the drawer open. Nolan said, "Where's the deed copy?" Claire said, "It used to be in the blue folder." Used to be. So she had looked before. The man asked about my will. Nolan said, "We'll handle that later." Claire said, "The kids are still protected, right?" Nolan snapped, "Focus." That little crack mattered. It did not make Claire innocent, but it showed me Nolan had his own plan inside their plan. At 6:31, they left. Hank called again. "They're gone." I could barely answer. "You okay?" "No," I said, because for once I did not feel like lying. Marcia came to the motel that night. She listened to everything. When Claire's sentence played, Marcia stopped the recording. Her jaw tightened. That matters. Legally? Yes, she said. And personally. By Monday morning, Marcia had moved faster than I thought possible. She prepared my statement. Added my notes. Added photos of the papers Claire brought. Added the audio. Added Hank's statement. Added proof that Dr. Phelps had never examined me. She also called Russell in Arizona and had him confirm I had never arrived. Why? I asked. So they cannot say you wandered back confused. That was when I realized how deep the lie could have gone. On Monday, before Claire expected me home, I walked into court with Marcia. I wore my brown suit. Ellen hated that suit. She said it made me look like a tired salesman. But it had deep pockets, and I wanted my notebook with me. Claire and Nolan were already there. When Claire saw me, her face went white. Nolan recovered first. He stepped toward me. "Walter, what are you doing here?" I looked at him. Standing. Marcia touched my sleeve. A small warning. Do not give them anger. Give them evidence. The hearing was not loud. Real justice usually is not. It was papers, dates, voices, a judge listening carefully. Nolan's lawyer talked about concern, about safety, about my age, about my grief. He made my life sound like a problem they were brave enough to solve. Then Marcia played the recording. First, Nolan saying they had been creating examples for months. Then the doctor issue. Then the asset window. Then Claire's voice. Once the papers go through, Dad won't have a home to come back to. The room changed. You could feel it. The judge asked to hear that part again. Claire lowered her head. Nolan stared at the table. For the first time since I had known him, he did not look polished. He looked exposed. The judge denied the petition before it became anything more dangerous. She ordered that no one could seek control over my finances, medical care, or property without a full, independent evaluation and direct notice to Marcia. Then she looked at Claire and Nolan. Concern for a parent, the judge said, does not give anyone permission to manufacture incapacity. Outside the courtroom, Nolan turned on me. You recorded us. I said, in my house. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Claire was crying. Dad, please. That word hurt. Dad. She had not used it like that in months. I looked at her. Did you move my keys? She cried harder. I nodded. Did you unplug the microwave? She covered her mouth. Did you know Nolan wanted to sell the house? She whispered. I thought it was best. For who? She had no answer. That silence did more than any confession could have. The next months were ugly but clear. Nolan's deal fell apart. The development company denied everything at first until Marcia found emails showing Nolan expected a consulting fee if my house sold quickly. $35,000. That was the price he put on my life. Nolan lost his job. Then his real estate license came under review. Then the bank found documents copied from my office in an application tied to a loan I never approved. He eventually took a plea, probation, restitution, a damaged record, a ruined reputation. For a man like Nolan, the reputation hurt most. Claire was not charged. Some days I wanted her to be. Other days I remembered holding her in the hospital the night she was born. That is the cruel part. Love does not disappear just because someone earns your anger. Marcia helped me change everything. My will, my medical contacts, my financial authority. The house went into a trust. No one could sell it while I was alive. After me, the house and land would be protected for my grandchildren, Maddie and Tyler, with an independent trustee. Not Claire, not Nolan, not anyone who could confuse family with opportunity. The first time the children came back, Claire drove them over and stopped at the curb. She did not come to the door. Maddie ran straight into the kitchen. Do you still have Grandma's blue mug? I did. Tyler ran to the backyard. "Can I climb the maple tree?" I said yes. For the first time in months, the house sounded alive. Not healed, alive. There is a difference. Later, Tyler asked, "Why is Mom sad?" I looked out at Claire sitting in her car. Because grown-ups make mistakes too. "Are you mad at her?" "Yes." "Do you still love her?" That took longer. "Yes," I said. "But love does not mean pretending nothing happened." He thought about that. Then he nodded and went back outside. Children understand more than adults think. Claire wrote me a letter 2 weeks later. 4 pages. She said Nolan pushed her. I believed that. She said she thought she was protecting me. I did not believe that. She said she kept telling herself I would forgive her because I always had. That line stayed with me. Maybe I had made forgiveness look too easy. Maybe she thought my love was a door that could never lock. But even a loving house needs locks. Almost a year after the hearing, Claire came alone. No Nolan, no papers, no fake worried voice. She stood under the maple tree with her hands around a coffee cup she never drank. "I'm filing for divorce," she said. I nodded. "I started therapy." "Good." "I keep hearing what I said on that recording." I said nothing. "I said you wouldn't have a home to come back to." "Yes." She wiped her face. "I hate myself for that." I looked at the tree. Spring flowers were coming up around the roots, crooked because I planted them, bright because flowers do not care who betrayed who. "Do you think you can forgive me?" she asked. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to be the father who fixed the room, but some comfort is just another lie. "I don't know," I said. She nodded. Then I added, "I'm not closing the door forever." Her face changed. Hope. Small and scared. "But I'm not opening it today." "I understand," she whispered. Before she left, she looked back at the house. Mom would be ashamed of me. I wanted to protect her from that, but the truth had already done enough work to earn respect. "Yes," I said, "she would." Claire cried then. I let her. After she left, I sat on the porch until dark. Hank came over with 2 beers and sat beside me. "She okay?" he asked. "No." "You okay?" "No." He nodded. Honest night. We sat there while the streetlights came on. I still have the recordings. I do not listen to them anymore. Once was enough. But I keep them because truth should not have to beg twice. The house is quiet now, but it is mine. The maple tree is still standing. Ellen's blue mug is still in the cabinet, unless Maddie fills it with flowers. Tyler beats me at checkers sometimes, fair and square. Claire still stops at the porch steps when she comes by. She does not ask to come in, not yet, and I do not offer, not yet. Some things grow back slowly. Some things do not grow back at all. Last Sunday, after the kids left, I walked through the house and turned off the lights one by one. Kitchen, hallway, office, living room. At the front door, I stopped and listened. For months, I thought the house would always feel violated. It does not. It feels scarred. A scar means something tried to break you and failed to finish the job. I picked up Ellen's blue mug from the table. Maddie had filled it with yellow flowers. I carried it to the window and looked at the maple tree moving in the dark. Then I thought about that motel room. The headphones, my daughter's voice. Dad won't have a home to come back to. She was wrong. I came back. To every room. Every floorboard. Every stubborn inch. They thought grief had made me easy to move. They thought age had made me easy to fool. They thought silence meant I had no fight left. But silence is not weakness. Sometimes, silence is a recorder running in the next room. I locked the front door. The key turned clean in the new deadbolt. I placed it in Ellen's crooked little bowl by the stairs and whispered, "Still ours." The house settled around me. Quiet. Steady. Mine. They faked concern. I faked a trip. Only one of us came home with proof.